public wishing to hear. I'll start on my left side and we'll go from our front to your back. So the gentleman right here with the mic.
Hi, everybody.
You have to come to the microphone.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody.
So you need your name and address too.
My name is Michael Day, and I'm the owner of Fatty's at 46 Morris Street. Since I heard about this whole development a couple months ago, it's been a very bittersweet experience because this is the most exciting thing that I've seen being proposed in Morristown in the 7 years that I've been here, and the benefits are going to be incredible, I believe, for everybody involved. So that's the sweet part, but the bitter part about it, for me especially, is that the construction of this proposed roundabout involves the demolition of my building at 46 Morris Street, and therefore the demolition of the business that I've built that took half the life from me to build. I'm very proud of what I built, and I'm very proud of what my team built. 3 months ago, a couple actually got engaged during the drunk rush on Saturday night at 2 in the morning. So Fatty's has become kind of that institution in town, and it's been a really amazing trip. So what I want to say is that I have a lot of incentive to come up before everybody here and sort of, I guess, throw a sob story out there. And I have incentive to gain the sympathy of the public with this whole thing. So knowing where I stand, I hope that what I'm about to say carries a lot of weight, because I'm not somebody that's on the sideline just coming here and piping up for the sake of it. I'm actually on the field, and I play this game every single day. So what I want to say is that we as a community would really lose out if we turned a blind eye to this. This is going to be amazing for everybody involved. It's going to change the town for the better. It's going to turbocharge our local economy. It's going to bring all the things that are missing to Morristown, Fortune 100 company, traffic relief. And for somebody in my position who's going to be economically affected by it, to be able to stand up here and say that we should do it, I hope it's powerful, and I hope that it resonates with everybody, because that's genuinely how I feel. Sometimes you have to make short-term sacrifices in order to bolster the long-term position of everything and everybody, and I feel very strongly about it, despite the fact that my business is going to get displaced. I've been a tenant of Scotto Properties for 7 years. I've owned 5 restaurants total in a 12-year span, and landlords definitely come in a lot of different flavors, and I could speak confidently that the bane of every small business owner's existence is signing that rent check every single month. But when it comes to dealing with them, it's a pleasure for me, because they've been wonderful, wonderful landlords. So the fact that they're involved with this, and the fact that Frank stood up during one of the public hearings and said that they would make quote-unquote unprecedented efforts to help displaced retailers. I mean, you know, he lives here, he works here. I don't know him personally, but he pretty much put his credibility and reputation on the line, so I don't think that he's lying. I think that he was being very genuine. I believe that everybody involved will get the assistance that they need. I believe that it's going to be very case dependent. We may have some retailers that just might want to retire. I mean, owning a business gets harder every single day. We're all just getting kicked in the face out there. So some people might want to exit gracefully. Some people might want to relocate and build their future somewhere else. Some retailers might want to come back to the new development. So I believe that it should be done on a case-by-case basis. I think they've listened very well to what everyone has had to say to this point. I just hope that there's oversight on behalf of the council, just to provide some checks and balances. And I really look forward to seeing this process move forward. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Good presentation.
Good evening, Lorena Innishows at 39 Early Street, Morristown. I too am all for redevelopment. I think it's a great boost to our town. I did have a question though. Back in 2016, the town council approved a traffic study for, I think it's a $300,000 traffic study that was supposed to generate millions in federal and state grants, like a shovel in the ground type of, I think that was the quote they used. So my question is, did this developer use that traffic study as a point of reference?
Yes.
They did. And the roundabout was the only solution.
Right, so, I mean, I'll answer briefly. So, the roundabout, when we hired a team out of New York City as an international team, Arab consultant, they wanted the roundabout first. And we were like, too expensive, we don't have enough room for it, there's the 7-Eleven there, there's Mr. Day's property there. We didn't, we never thought that we would be able to accomplish it. We compromised on something way less effective. Like Mr. Seckler said, like we call it striping and signage, or like retiming the signals a little bit, maybe making it so Wilmot was a one-way in only, which added a few seconds to the different approaches when you optimize the signals. So the answer is all the data that you saw here was data that we collected and we prepared, so it's not like developers' data that came from the outside. We would have liked, we made a recommendation to see this there. They came forward independently with the same conclusion, and that was why we took a hard look at it and have given it the kind of airtime that we have, because all these, like the best traffic engineers in New Jersey, there's like 7 of them that have really taken a very, very close look at this. And I'm not a traffic engineer, but you have to trust your experts,
Right.
and they have all come to the same conclusion.
And then the second part is, so a roundabout is the solution. However, I'm like no engineering. Coming up Morris Street, like towards the green, the church isn't going anywhere, right? So the streets don't get wider. Spring Street going up, Spring Street Salvation Army's not going anywhere, Bethel Church isn't going anywhere, headquarters. So how does that solve that congestion problem?
So, and I'm going to try something that, and we'll let the engineer, so there's intersections and then there's the street segments between them, right? The intersections where the problems happen.
Right.
So what we have to do as a town is attack each one at a time. We have to keep our mind as a system. We have to attack each intersection at a time. And in this area, this is one of the worst bottlenecks we have. And the most expensive to fix because the options were so limited and it was so constrained in terms of land. So this is a huge benefit. We have one that's currently pending. A permit has been requested by the town with NJDOT at Spring and Speedwell. This was a proposal that has been going on for like 15 years that we're now kind of getting in the final stretch of implementing. So again, that upstream node will deal with that upstream node. So we have to only go intersection by intersection.
But that's from Spring Street down Speedwell.
Up to yes.
Sussex.
Spring and Speedwell, yes.
Right, but so that area on Spring Street itself, like between Headquarters Plaza and Salvation Army,
So
that'd still be a.
the testimony you have. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
The testimony you have here is that those backups are being caused by the bottlenecks, and that if we can relieve those bottlenecks, that area. So what you experience is the symptom of the problem, not the problem. So we will be able to relieve those symptoms if we can hit at these root causes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken Hoffman, 12 Hill Street. On a very similar thought, we do have the other direction too, toward 287, where a lot of the traffic would be headed at rush hour in the afternoons. And I know from personal experience, just living around the corner, that in fact today, it's gridlock from King Street up to Ridgedale and to 287. And most of the traffic, there's 2 lanes there at the bridge, but the left lane is gridlock because people are turning left onto Ridgedale. And then it's gridlock again when people are getting on the ramp to go 287 north. I mean, this is kind of the elephant in the room. How can we add more traffic to a wonderful project on the board when we still have these problems with traffic and no solutions? And the other two directions that were mentioned earlier, same. Don't you think that it's more important to address those problems before we add traffic to the situation, making it even more impossible from Elm Street to turn right onto Morris to go to Ridgedale or go to 287? It's just going to be more gridlock with more traffic.
Yeah, I'm going to let the actual traffic engineer.
It's going to come up behind here.
Sure.
So the mobility study that I think one of the previous residents referred to, the $300,000 study, hit on a number of improvements that can be made along the corridor getting towards 287. Some of that included areas where you're kind of choked down to a single lane because there's parking on the side as you're going down Morris and going towards Lafayette. And so some of the improvements that we're making along the whole stretch is basically trying to upgrade, based on the corridor study, a number of the intersections along the corridor getting towards 287. So that includes eliminating some on-street parking, retiming, adding additional left turn lane length and along that stretch. So this project, although the big showcase piece is the roundabout, we're also basically trying to follow the improvements that the Morristown circulation plan kind of recommends for the entire stretch to 287. So again, a lot of attention focused on the roundabout. We're not stopping at the roundabout, basically carrying it through towards 287.
The only detail you mentioned was the elimination of parking on Morris Street in front of those retail shops by King, where people park, where those spots are always taken. There's never a free spot there on Blatchley or from King to Elm. Those retailers need those spots. No? Plus, there's 2 lanes anyway.
So there are certain pinch points that exist between Ridgedale, or I would say Elm, and 287 that you're speaking of. I don't think you're talking about all of Morris Street here. Eliminating, there's like literally 3 spaces or something.
Yeah, there's a few spaces in each direction, basically where it narrows down to a single lane.
Right.
Or we could get a second lane. Where there's already 2 lanes, we're not relieving the traffic. But a lot of the issues, and I think this goes back to one of the previous residents' comments, is that it's not always the intersection that you're being stuck at that red light that is causing the problems. A lot of times it's downstream. It's the fact that even when the light turns green, there's no place to go because the next light down, you're going from 2 lanes to 1, or the left turn lane is backing up into the through lane. And so again, really what we're trying to do is pinpoint those areas where you have those neck downs, those pinch points, and trying to relieve them. And those are the areas where you're going from 2 lanes to 1. This location of the intersection where you have trying to feed 3 major approaches at one time, and there's only so much green time that you can give to each approach. It's basically trying to relieve each pinch point so that the areas in between can be relieved.
Phil, is there a corridor plan through 287 northbound exit off of Lafayette?
We can share as
You're
part,
going
yeah, as
down
part, so
Morris, you're making a left on Lafayette.
as he alluded, and maybe, sorry. Trevor.
But that's part of a different traffic study you're saying?
Yes and no. So, as Matt, Mr. Seckler indicated, that there are other kind of more tactical improvements that will help relieve bottlenecks from here to 287. That is part of what their study did and their study's looking at, and that can be implemented as part of this section of improvements,
So
basically.
we'll see those at a later time.
We can do that. We've been maybe too focused, but I don't think so, on this roundabout because it's a big deal.
Well, that's actually several people's comments, is that we're looking just at the roundabout, what are the
Right.
other impacts going west and also going
Understood.
north?
Understood.
Barbara Gross, 71 Red River Road. First question, I have just a couple of quick questions. The first question is, what happens with traffic during construction?
Yeah, that is, I think that Matt might be the better one.
So one of the benefits of a roundabout is that there's construction that is done outside of the existing curb lines. So basically, one of the benefits you have is you almost create somewhat of bypass lanes on the outside. And I assume you're talking about construction of the roundabout, not construction of the site.
Yes.
So you start constructing the roundabout from the outside in. So basically what you do is you create lanes on the outside that allow for some bypass movements. There would be the need for some detours in terms of certain left turn movements can't be made. We have met with the county to basically discuss some wide range, large topic in terms of detours, staging plans, things of that nature. The other thing to remember that as part of the construction, the roundabout construction of the site, you are pulling traffic off the roadway network because the retail that's on the site today will be taken off. So you're gonna have a reduction in traffic during the roundabout construction time period. That said, we have looked at the ability to stage this roundabout basically from the outside in. There will be time period, there will be detours, there will be time period for staging. I imagine there'll be, an overnight detour, at certain time periods. But again, that is something that we'll be working with the county as well as the township because this is also a county roadway itself.
Okay. The second question is for the office buildings, the parking lot is behind, as you were talking about. Is that going to be a 4 to 1,000 square feet ratio, or what do you anticipate?
I think it's about that much. It's 3 to 1,000.
That's usually not adequate. If anything, with bullpens now, I'm in commercial real estate, and we are finding 5 and 6 is almost becoming necessary. So how are you addressing that?
Well, so, one of the things that I'm sure you also know, being so familiar, is that when a lot of the company that's coming in this first place is a consulting firm that has outside locations. They do not expect everybody to show up every day. So that's a big part of why that's there. If you're doing commercial real estate, you know how difficult it is to negotiate these leases with these tenants and what they believe that they need. And oftentimes they're more conservative than zoning will be, and the municipalities will be to make sure that they have enough parking there. So this is what in their minds in terms of who's going to be showing up, who's going to be driving to work every day, at least on that first building, is sufficient. I don't know if there's anything else, train and other forms of.
No, don't even go train, because Metro Park was built on that premise and it didn't work. They all bring their cars. The trains just don't work. It's a north-south train. It's not really an east-west train for a lot, so it's just not going to be viable as a substitute.
Right. And I will say that 3 per 1,000 is what our zoning currently requires.
Okay. Is there going to be a charge for that parking, and will the public be able to use that parking? Is there enough for the public?
I believe that there will be. We haven't kind of gotten into the details of parking ratios at this point. We're sort of vetting the project in a general sense, not a planning board hearing, but that there will be parking for the retail accessible to the public.
And my final question was, if I can find it again. Oh, you said that you were taking off a floor, but there was still the same square footage, so are the buildings a bigger footprint then?
Yes, that's correct.
And so what's being sacrificed by doing that? What's being changed, I should say?
So the parking deck previously, let me see if I can get a good image of this. Oh, there's a site plan. Sorry. So this is a site plan here. This is the new one. So previously, this building came like this. It's like a square L. So by adding this in, they were able to pick up what was lost in that additional floor, and then what they lost in the parking, they basically pick up in a half to a full story. The deck was 4, now it'll be 5.
And what's behind it?
Spring Hill Nursing Home is there, and when you look at this from there, the distance is, the grade significantly goes up to the nursing home there. So this would not come over, when we've looked at the cross sections, does not come over their parking lot.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that Marge? We're still working on,
Margaret Brady, 1 Franklin Place. Something that I did was I drove to the Spring Hills parking lot and tried to visualize the garage, which comes up to their property line. And it appeared to me that the cars in the top levels of the deck exhaust would be directly facing the people in the Spring Hills rest home. Also, their view would be blocked, which is pretty nice now. I was wondering if you could, if you moved the project further down the hill, it wouldn't have nearly the negative impact because of the topography there. Another big concern I have, I've been going through my old plans because I was on the council when I heard the same kind of pitch for Headquarters Plaza. And it was supposed to be really wonderful. And I love the developer because when I complained, the original plaza project was supposed to abut Spring Street all the way down the street. And the developer came over to my spot at the table, took his pencil, and said, "Would you feel better if we knocked it back?" And I said, "Yes." And he took a pencil on the plan, knocked it back. They did, but then they changed the entrance to put the loading docks there when they were supposed to be on the side. Another thing they did was they changed architects before it was built, which cheapened the design considerably. And the original end building at the point was supposed to have a Windows on the World restaurant that was going to be the meeting spot for all the people in the area where they could eat and oversee the view from the top of the building. Well, I kept pushing when they changed it. And they finally, after I went off the council, I kept going back to meetings, and they couldn't eliminate a place where people could have the view. It was part of the contract. So if you come down Speedwell Avenue now and you look up at the building, you'll see this teeny tiny little greenhouse stuck on the top of the building. And that was how they got around it, because people can go up there and see the view. But of course, you have to know 10 people to get the permission to get up into that greenhouse. But if you get there, you can see the view. I only did it once. And since there was nothing else up there, it wasn't really worth it. I think my main concern is change orders and what happens when there are change orders, and that this council can vote for something and put it in the contract and insist that it be exactly one way, and then the next election you can have a change in council members who don't know what the prior council agreed to, and people can come in and say, "Oh, well, this happened and that happened, so we have to change this and that," and then the next council will approve it, not understanding all the ramifications, because even most candidates don't even bother to go to the council meetings before they run for their election. So, those are my, I have other concerns, but that's it for now.
Thank you. Well, we have one more on this side. Linda?
Linda Stamato, Franklin Place in Morristown. Two comments. The first is, as Phil knows, I keep saying we ought to be talking about a broader area, and I'm not going to bring that point up again. I assume that that will happen over time. But I did want to suggest that the concerns about parking probably need to be, you also need to be thinking about what the parking authority will be creating in what's now Lot 10, and so that may help alleviate some of the public's need for parking in the area. As it is, it's kind of deficient. The other thing is, we'll be able to work together on, I think, Wilmot Place being one way, and we're trying to figure out ways to direct traffic that'll be coming off 287 to go to the Mayo Center, so that it's not adding more, but we'll be able to come up through one of the other streets, creating additional problems there, but probably alleviating some others. And the other point I wanted to make is that, you know, if you think that it doesn't matter having an opportunity for the public to make comments, I think the distance we've come from the meeting we had in the senior center and now suggests that you're listening. People have raised really legitimate points, and you've used, for example, the headquarters example, to let people see that lens that they were raising, but you've filled in considerably. So I know we're not done yet, but I think we're certainly getting there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, I'm gonna move over to my right, gentleman in the back with the sheet on. You.
Hi, good evening. Stephen Zaklikevich, 20 Convict Place in Morristown. I just had a question on the video of the roundabout with the vehicles passing through. The data on the decrease in time that it takes to get from one intersection to the other, one intersection to 287, where is that study that focuses on the time?
So we've, as part of this, again, this is not a planning board submission yet, so in terms of traffic studies, you know, it hasn't been submitted to the board, but we have been working with Morristown's traffic engineer providing basically the analysis, the simulation software, the traffic counts that we utilized to create this. So basically, this was based on a simulation that was worked off of the Morristown's own traffic simulation that they had utilized as part of their study, and basically utilized the simulation software to map out the estimated times to go from this one point to the next.
Is that data available for public review, or where you came to those? I mean, it's down to seconds.
The underlying counts, the underlying count data stuff is in the data we've provided to council members. Yeah, I mean, we're trying, what I want to do is...
It's pretty important, right? If you're decreasing time 30, 40, 50%, I mean, where is that data? What's
So
the basis?
what I need to do is work with them to find it in a digestible way. Like, I don't know if there's a certain file format, like if you have Synchro in your house or if you have access to Synchro. But I just don't want to provide a transparency that's not transparent because it's so, black box engineering. So give us a little time to think
I mean, that's a key, my point is that's like a key to your proposal, right? If that's what it's about, time and complaining about sitting at a light for 3 or 4 cycles, that's what it's all about, right?
Yes, so basically we utilize typical standard traffic signal software package, and one of the outputs, one of the measurements of effectiveness that it calculates is basically corridor studies. You could set the corridor, you could pick, I want to know from this street to this street, and it'll basically give you the distance between each node along the way, and then you basically add up the distance, how long does it take to go from, King to Pine, how long does it go from, and then you basically just add up those travel times and come up with the overall for whatever piece you want to get at. But again, I think we have the output files, we have the traffic software files. Again, you're not going to be able to get into the software unless you have the software. But again, the output files, again, have been provided to the Morristown traffic engineer. We can, again, work with Phil in terms of however that's disseminated.
Okay. And just secondly, briefly, I hope the council obviously recognizes this is more than just a redevelopment project. I mean, it's essentially a complete upheaval and change for a part of town that's been in a certain way, that's had a certain demographic enjoy that space through multi-ethnic retail, multi-ethnic food, affordable retail. So it's more than just a redevelopment. You're being asked to basically change the nature, change the character of a very large and important part of town. And I would hope that, and I believe that you will, take that into consideration when you make a final decision, that this is more than just a new building. It's really putting a different type of demographic into a very large part of town that for a very long time a certain other demographic has relied upon for its enjoyment of Morristown. Thank you very much.
This town